So in a very strange year for Nintendo that we find ourselves in 2024, where we have official confirmation that Nintendo will be talking about their successor console to the Nintendo Switch no later than March of 2025, but we also know they are still promoting their current model of Switch to be sold and available as their big flagship device this holiday season, and we know a big chunk of their release lineup into early 2025 with Donkey Kong Country Returns HD rounding out our official timeline of first-party Nintendo Switch games. I believe it is an extremely fair question to ask, when will we hear from them next in a big way? And of course, there are some big staple gaming events coming up that we know to expect, such as Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, and then we have that historical time slot in the month of September where we typically see Nintendo host a Nintendo Direct presentation, and many, including myself, are calling that into question for this year. And we do actually have one confirmed date that we know that we will hear directly from Nintendo at their next quarterly financial briefing. So in today's video, I want to deep dive and discuss what we know officially about all of these upcoming events and what is the most likely format we will see Nintendo communicate something big to us, whether it be Switch 2 hardware related in a big way or small way, or just some new first party game announcements. And we're going to get on the same page with all of that. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And I want to first tackle the event that is already on Nintendo's official calendar that we know they will be participating in because it is their own event. It is an official communication, quarterly briefing rather, to their shareholders, which is scheduled to take place on August 2nd, 2024. So if you just want to know when is the next time we're going to hear from Nintendo in a meaningful way, it will be during that time. Of course, this happens in Japan time, which makes it really a lot of the results go live essentially overnight here in the US, but this is largely going to be Nintendo communicating to investors around how many Switch units they've sold so far. We may get some kind of mention of a revised forecast of their 13.5 million units that they've forecast in this fiscal year. It also might be a little bit too soon to revise it, and they may indeed just say that it's going to be a challenge to hit the 13.5 million, but they're going to continue to aim for it. We could also potentially see over the holiday season some levers pulled, such as a price drop for the Nintendo Switch family of systems to potentially help Nintendo achieve that lofty goal of the Nintendo Switch in its 8th year of sales. Hitting 13.5 million is no small feat, and they may have to pull some levers like that, and it'll probably be a lot of the general investors speak that we always see them stick to. Nothing massive and revealing, and if they haven't announced Switch 2 hardware, you better bet that every single shareholder question that comes their way around their next gen console will just be Nintendo directly addressing, we're going to be talking about the successor, but we haven't revealed anything yet, and it's important for us to create excitement amongst the fans, and secrecy is part of our plan on how we market things. So they're going to be able to get out of any direct questions now that we've had their official statement being that they will reveal their next gen console no later than March 2025. And so while I am excited that that event is not too far from taking place, I also don't think it's going to be the one that Nintendo fans walk away the most excited about. I mean, it's really going to come down to, if you are a Nintendo stockholder, you might have some nuggets of information about how they are doing to hit their said forecasted numbers for their shareholders. That's literally what this meeting is. But every now and then we do get nice little nuggets of information from Furukawa and team when we do see that Q&A take place and ultimately get its official transcription. Anything before that can be a little bit dicey. A lot of people jump the gun on poor translations. We'll try to do a good job of getting any notable news out to you quick, but also making sure that we preface it with there could be some translation issues of the first go around until we see that official document from Nintendo. Now from there, things get a little bit less exciting and then right back into more exciting territory, because we also have Gamescom 2024 taking place from August 21st to the 25th. And while Nintendo themselves are not there in an official capacity, the Pokemon Company actually is a part of this showcase. Now, I'm not really necessarily expecting to see big blowout game related stuff in a big way from the Pokemon Company, but this event could honestly gain a lot of traction for me if there was some kind of Legend ZA gameplay reveal, but that just doesn't seem to be the Pokemon Company's MO as of lately. I definitely think that that will be saved for something like a Pokemon Presents, or even potentially a September Nintendo Direct that we will be getting to the likelihood around here in a moment. What I do think, however, will be here from the Pokemon Company is this trading card game app that you've seen a lot of hype around from the last Pokemon Presents. This is going to be big for the Pokemon Company. This could legitimately, maybe not to the same level of success that Pokemon Go was when it launched, but probably one of those mainstream apps that gets downloaded in a massive way with a lot of your general everyday casual consumer level market gamers getting into this thing, like people who just play games on their phones or just have any level of nostalgia for the Pokemon trading card game and, you know, having a collection of cards, now it's going digital. This is going to be big for the Pokemon Company in terms of revenue, and I think they're going to do a lot to market it, and we might see a lot of the focus at Gamescom 2024 be around this particular app. That's kind of where I'm setting my expectations. Maybe there's that shock reveal of something new that is Nintendo Switch related from a game perspective, like Legends EA gameplay, or they surprise drop late into the year some kind of remake announcement. I don't think that that's going to happen, and I think if there was anything brand new unrevealed Pokemon project for 2024, we would likely know about it already, because we're getting pretty close towards the latter half of the year, and Pokemon Company does like to announce these things fairly far in advance from when they ultimately launch. But expect smaller stuff from them at Gamescom 2024 and not necessarily anything big from a first party Nintendo perspective, because Nintendo's not officially a part of that presentation in a direct capacity. That said, we'll probably see some good third party Switch games there, but nothing officially first party Nintendo I would not expect from Gamescom 2024. Now from there, we have the month of September, and it could be any time in the month of September, but of course, if you look at history, almost every single year without fail, Nintendo does put on a mainline Nintendo Direct presentation in the month of September. However, I am not so confident that we will for sure see that this year, and a lot of that speculation comes down to two things. One, we are in the transitional hardware year where we know Nintendo is going to be making an announcement of their successor consoles sometime soon, and they might not need to show off that much more Switch 1 stuff at this point in time. In fact, I think it's going to turn into a very light Switch 1 software roadmap once we get the official announcement of Switch 2 hardware. And two, if you look at the June Nintendo Direct and just how far out a lot of the games were in terms of their release roadmap, maybe we get some updates on games that have yet to come out at that point in time, like Mario and Luigi Brothership. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom will be launching in the month of September, but towards the end, so maybe Nintendo gives us updates on that. Mario Party Jamboree again, that's entirely possible, and it might be a lot more updates on games that we know to be expecting. But if you look at the fact that we got the announcement for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD coming out in January of 2025, I really think that an announcement like that would have been saved for a September Direct if they were going to hold one, not to mention a lot of other third-party and first-party games just getting later into the year launches, like the November games and things we know about in 2024. It seems like a lot of those would have been better poised for a September Direct if the plan was to hold one, and I'm thinking that maybe there's a world we learn about Switch 2 early in the month of September or even late in the month of August, then Nintendo actually does have a reason to hold a Direct to showcase a lot of launch games for Switch 2. But if that doesn't happen and we wait until more of that October timeframe to learn about Switch 2, I really, at that point, fail to see the necessity of Nintendo holding this presentation, and so I'm definitely keeping my expectations a little bit lower on the September Direct this year. And in years past, I wouldn't have said that, but just the environment we are in, I don't necessarily think that Nintendo will show up in a meaningful way in September with their historical Nintendo Direct presentation in 2024. Now, lastly, we have Tokyo Game Show, which will be taking place September 26th through the 29th, and Nintendo is officially part of this lineup, but only in the business level capacity, which, if you want to know about when's the next most likely time, let's say we haven't heard about Switch 2 or anything official from Nintendo at that point in time, well, if you want to know when the next most likely date is that we will start to hear leaks from behind the scenes devs and things that talk, you know, when the console is going to be coming out, what kind of feature set it has, what Nintendo showed off behind closed doors, Nintendo is at Tokyo Game Show in a business partner capacity, but not necessarily in a general consumer fan attraction type of capacity. So you might remember in years past when Nintendo is a part of some of these industry events in just a business capacity, we ultimately, a week or two after, there starts to be a lot of leak, rumor, speculation, talk about what was shown off behind closed doors, like we had the Gamescom 2023 reports all break out that Nintendo was showing off targeted spec PC hardware that's basically showcasing what the Switch 2 would be capable of. The Matrix Awakenings demo was name dropped, a 4K version of Breath of the Wild, which we actually know to have some kind of code name. It's likely going to be released for Switch 2 with essentially no load times and 4K textures for Breath of the Wild. That was being talked about as well. So we might hear more nuggets of information like that around Switch 2, and it would honestly be really nice for Nintendo if they would just officially announce the console before that takes place, so they're able to officially talk about it with partners and not have to have everything under such strict NDA and whatnot. But that'll remain to be seen on how they handle that, but don't expect new first party announcements of any sort at this showcase. But I do think we're going to get some interesting behind the scenes type of talk from credible sources, BGC, Eurogamer, Nate the Hate, Bloomberg, and many others. Kind of your standard name of insiders that you would expect to hear from will likely be starting to talk shortly after that showcase takes place, at least potentially. So kind of stay tuned for that kind of stuff. But we have an interesting summer to look forward to and an interesting year in 2024 that we find ourselves in. Of course, the Game Awards is in the conversation, but I'm not really going to go that far into the year. And also just Nintendo hasn't been a part of that in a meaningful way in quite some time, other than with some one-off new announcements here and there. But fortunately, we shouldn't have to wait too much longer to figure out what Nintendo's planning next. And we do have some potentially exciting events in the upcoming months. So let me know in the comments down below, when is the next time you think we will hear from Nintendo in a meaningful way and what you hope we see them announce. Do you think Switch 2 happens before some of these September showcases and we actually do see Nintendo officially reveal it to partners and talk about it with partners in an open format at something like Tokyo Game Show? Do you think it's more likely to happen in an October trailer, very similar to what they did with the original Switch? And what are your thoughts on the September Nintendo Direct presentation? Do you think it's likely we get one this year, or do you think Nintendo will opt to skip it with it being so close to the reveal time of their next gen hardware? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.